What's good, everybody? As y'all can tell from the title, we're gonna be reacting to this disturbing true story of Ed Gein. Shout out to Collated, I think his name. Collated. Yeah, Crime Collated. Shout out to him. This is his video. So, go check out his YouTube channel, watch some more of his videos, subscribe, show the man some love. Um, yeah, I just got through watching the Monster Ed Gein, the little short series they had on Netflix. Um, So that's why we're here reacting to this. If y'all haven't watched it, watch it at your own risk. They got some pretty crazy stuff going on in there. Some disturbing stuff going on in there. But yeah, man, watch it at your own risk. Just be prepared for some crazy stuff. I mean, the dude was out there for sure. But yeah, let's get started reacting to this.
The flesh shop like that headhunter.
Would you enjoy it while you were doing it?
What's the worst part of it? I mean, they didn't then.
Ed Gein robbed graves, collected body parts, and built furniture from human skin.
He was a monster.
This was an American small-town horror story.
Coming to be known as the Butcher of Plainfield.
Well, I just want to say, man, it's crazy how back then you can just get away with anything. I mean, literally anything. I mean, no fingerprints, none of that. They didn't have all that good stuff they have nowadays. Oh, and they definitely didn't have all the cameras we have. You can't get away with nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. You steal a piece of bubble gum nowadays, you're going to jail. Or you're going to definitely get caught.
The skin, cut it up at the back and there and just peeled it off the face.
The gruesome discoveries on his rural Wisconsin farm didn't just horrify America. They rewired what we believed was even possible by those who walk amongst us, inspiring Psycho's Norman Bates, Silence of the Lambs' Buffalo Bill, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre's Leatherface. But the true story of Ed Gein is darker, stranger, and more disturbing than the Hollywood versions ever dared to show. This is the real-life story of the Plainfield Ghoul, why he did it, and what happened to him. On the cold morning of November...
See, that's why I wanted to watch this. I mean, I feel like they were leaving some stuff out in the show, but I'm gonna stop pausing. I'm gonna let y'all get into it, but I figured, man, they was leaving some stuff out just due to, how bad it probably was.
16th, 1957, Bernice Warden, a 58-year-old hardware store owner in Plainfield, Wisconsin, vanished without a trace. At around 9:30 a.m., witnesses nearby the store saw a truck pulling away from the rear of the building. Throughout the day, few customers came by, but most just presumed it was a quiet day, with people out deer hunting. It wasn't until 5 p.m. that Bernice Warden's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Warden, entered the store. What he found was chilling. The cash register sat open, and dark bloodstains marked the floor. The night before, Ed Gein had stopped by the store and was expected back the next morning to buy a gallon of antifreeze. A sales slip for that very purchase turned out to be the last receipt Bernice wrote before she disappeared. By that evening, Ed Gein was arrested in West Plainfield on suspicion of abduction and taken to Wautoma County Jail.
Yeah, that boy is wild. He did this to the
here
deputies.
Where he was taken to be questioned by police officers. Yet, at this point, no one would even begin to comprehend the scale of the 51-year-old's crimes, which soon began to unravel.
Amid the filth and squalor of the suspect's house, lawmen have found a grisly collection of preserved body parts and human skulls and skeletons. Crime lab investigators are now trying to determine how long this man may have been killing and how many unsolved murders in the area he may have committed.
Yeah, that boy's psycho.
The county sheriff's department descended on Ed Gein's farm. In a shed on the property, a deputy made a gruesome discovery. Bernice Warden's body, hung upside down by her legs, a crossbar at her ankles, and ropes at her wrists. Her torso had been gutted like a deer. Investigators determined she had been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, and that the mutilations occurred after death. Her head was found in a box. Inside the house, which was located on a farm in Plainfield, Wisconsin, authorities uncovered horrors that defied imagination. Ed Gein's home showed that he had systematically robbed graves and collected the body parts of women, which he
Boy,
used
house
to make
nasty.
household items and clothing. The macabre findings included a chair upholstered in human skin, face masks, and boxes of various body parts. He also had created a woman's suit that he could wear, which included gloves made from human skin that he had collected and stitched himself.
What did you intend to do with her body, Mr. Warden?
That's why that boy,
You go.
they made that movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre after this dude.
I put that up and was going to the deer hunting. That's what you hang it from. Whether I'd seen her through she was a deer like, or
I'd probably am.
what did it start? So, like I say, must be 4 years.
Would you enjoy it while you were doing it?
What's the worst part of it? I mean, they didn't then. I knew better, like, restless.
When you would dig these graves up, you were kind of in a haze too, is that it?
That's what I could do, just
And then one time you said you kind of realized what you were doing and you covered her up without taking anything.
that's right.
What would you do with the sexual parts then?
They them in the box, that was in.
Then how would you, what would you do with the head?
That must have been taken from reading about these magazines and everything. Taking the flesh off, like that headhunters.
What would you do with the sexual parts?
That was in.
One was painted, they said.
Oh, that one, when they died, I just put the thing over it. Is everything right, So there's a bunch of photographers from the newspaper who want to take a picture. Do you want to take a picture? No, it's not yet. So we get picked straight off.
Ed
That boy
Gein's
wild.
goal, as he later explained to police, was to create a skin suit to quasi-resurrect his dead mother, with whom he'd been obsessed for years.
How long did you say you'd known Mr. Gein? Well, I've known him ever since he was a little boy. He's lived here all his life in this farm? Well, I don't know whether he was born here or not, but the family moved up here around 50 years ago, probably, and I knew his dad more than 40 years ago when he used to haul potatoes in town.
Man, this got to be some back country. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I cannot understand hardly any of these dudes, and I ain't trying to say I have the best voice or accent or I talk the best, but man, there's a whole lot of mumbling. Like whenever there's interviewing Ed Gein, I couldn't understand nothing. I was sitting there having to read the whole thing. But yeah, man, it's just crazy how this dude was. Man, he just wasn't all there. And back then, mental health issues wasn't really, a big thing, like it is now. I mean, you got a lot of people that can help you now, but back then they didn't have no help. I mean, they didn't have doctors that, focused on, mental health issues and stuff. Like, thank God we don't we don't have to, go through what they had to go through, but still, I mean, dang, somebody should have been. This dude needed. He was like one of those people that need like a caregiver or something. Like somebody that came and checked on him, at least like 4 days out the week. It's crazy, man. Just crazy. The stuff he was able to do underneath everybody's nose, it's wild.
He'd play with the kids. They'd jump on his back, and he'd give them horsey back rides and things like that. He was just a nice, odd little man.
Well, Ed Gein was always a person that everybody liked to pick on. They'd take a bottle of beer and they would open it up and put a little whiskey in it to give him a little more jolt at noon there, unbeknown to him, to kind of get him going. He was, he was the guy that everybody picked on.
Born Edward Theodore Gein on August 27, 1906, in La Crosse, Wisconsin, Ed came of age under the influence of his religious and domineering mother.
See all that
Augusta.
bullying.
He raised Ed and his brother Henry to believe that the world was full of evil. Raised in a family of German Old Lutherans, Augusta Wilhelmina Gein grew up believing that every human thought and deed was infected with sin, and she passed this belief onto her son as well. She instilled in her son that sex was evil and that women were instruments of the devil. Frantic to protect her family from the evil, which she believed lurked around every corner, Augusta insisted that they move from La Crosse, a sinkhole of filth, she thought, to Plainfield. Even there, Augusta had the family settle outside of town, since she believed that living in town would corrupt her 2 young sons. As a result, Ed Gein only ever left his family's isolated farmhouse to go to school. But he failed to establish any meaningful connections with his classmates, who remembered him as socially awkward and prone to odd, unexplained fits of laughter. What's more, Ed's lazy eye and speech impediment made him an easy victim of bullies. Ed's father, George Gein, worked a series of odd jobs, taking gigs as a carpenter and a tanner, but he struggled to stick with anything for long. This was largely due to his struggles with alcoholism. Meanwhile, Ed's mother, Augusta, ran a small grocery store and tried to keep the family home in order. But in time, she began to resent her husband. Yet, Augusta's religious beliefs prevented her from divorcing him, so her resentment steadily grew. Soon enough, she developed a deep hatred of men in general and dreamed of giving birth to a daughter. Augusta did not get her wish. Not wanting her 2 sons to grow into the type of man she loathed, Augusta raised Ed with an overbearing protectiveness that slowly warped his perception of the world. Age 21, she made both boys promise to remain virgins for life. Their father, George, died of pneumonic fluid on the lungs at age 66. Augusta attributed his death to his weakness and referred often to him going to hell. Ed and Henry began to take on odd jobs to help support the family. In 1944, Ed and Henry set out to clear some vegetation in their fields by burning it away. As they worked, their fire suddenly got out of control, and when firefighters arrived to put out the blaze, Ed told them that Henry had vanished. His body was found soon afterward, face down in the marsh, dead. Henry's body had not been touched by the fire, and his head was badly bruised. It has been said that Henry was concerned about Ed's unnatural infatuation with his mother.
It's very possible that he killed his own brother because of his own maybe attraction and his own interest in his mother sexually. Very likely that his brother was just a hindrance to that. He didn't want him around.
After the death, Ed became a hermit, barely leaving his home and immersing himself in Nazi literature.
That just added to his fantasies about death and dying. I mean, all you hear about, all these people were dying in the war. He was isolated out in Wisconsin, and he didn't have friends.
With Henry gone.
See, that's what happens. Like back then, like death wasn't something that people were used to. Nowadays, these pretty much everybody, I'm saying kids, but like pretty much everybody, we're so sensitized to death. I mean, it's like nothing. We see it all the time. I mean, you see it online, you see it, probably in real life. I mean, it's just back then, death was like a rare thing. Now it's everywhere, You can literally just go to Google and type in some stuff and see death everywhere. So I don't know. I guess different times, man, different times.
Ed and his mother, Augusta, were now alone. Not long after Henry's death, Augusta suffered a paralyzing stroke, and Ed dedicated himself to caring for her. In 1945, Ed later recalled, he and Augusta went to visit a neighbor named Smith to buy some straw. While they were there, Augusta witnessed Smith beating a dog. A woman inside Smith's home came out and shouted at him to stop, but Smith continued until the dog was dead. The scene upset Augusta deeply, but not because of the cruelty toward the animal. What disturbed her most was the woman's presence. Augusta told Ed that the woman wasn't married to Smith and therefore had no business being there, angrily calling her a prostitute. Soon after, Augusta suffered a second stroke, and her health quickly declined. She died on December 29th, 1945, at the age of 67. Ed was devastated. As author Harold Schechter would later write, he had lost his only friend and one true love, and he was absolutely alone in the world. Gein held on to the farm and earned money from odd jobs. He boarded up rooms used by his mother, including the upstairs, downstairs parlor and living room, leaving them untouched. While the rest of the house became increasingly squalid, these rooms remained pristine, as to preserve the memory of his mother. From here, Gein grew more and more psychotic as he lived in isolation. These factors, plus a delusional motivation to quasi-resurrect his mother, led him to what was next, the unthinkable.
All he had was his own little world of, getting his newspaper and fantasizing and masturbating, and I'm sure, and he probably got some very strange notions about women. I think led him into the killing phase.
Mary Hogan was Ed Gein's first victim on December 8th, 1954. A customer came into her tavern and discovered there had been some kind of commotion. Mary Hogan was missing. There were overturned chairs, and there were bloodstains on the floor. It wouldn't be until 3 years later, when searching Ed Gein's home, officers finally solved the disappearance.
I searched the kitchen.
What did you
and found in the stove where there had been some human bones burnt. The shoebox had the face mask of a woman. And by that time, the sheriff from Portage County was there. And when they lifted up that face mask, he immediately recognized it as Mary Hogan's.
When you say face mask, what are you talking about?
Well, he took the skin, cut it up at the back and there, and just peeled it off the face, the skin. The hair and everything was on the mask.
Along with the skin items, police found various dismembered body parts, including fingernails, 4 noses, and the genitals of 9 different women. Ed Gein readily admitted that he'd collected most of the remains from 3 local graveyards, which he'd started to visit 2 years after Augusta's death.
Gein admitted to digging up 9 to 11 bodies, most from this Plainfield cemetery. But to this day, no one is sure how many graves may actually be empty.
He told police he'd gone to the graveyards in a daze, looking for bodies that he thought resembled his mother.
When you dig these graves up, you were kind of in a haze too, is that it?
That's what I could do, just
And then one time you said you were trying to realize what you were doing and you covered her up without taking anything.
That's right.
Ed also explained why.
That dude was wild, man.
He told authorities that he had wanted to create a woman suit so that he could become his mother and crawl into her skin. Gein admitted to stealing from 9 graves and led investigators to their locations. He was arraigned on 1 count of first-degree murder in Waushara County Court. At his 1958 trial for the murder of Bernice Worden, Ed pleaded not guilty by reasons of insanity. The court agreed, declaring him legally insane and therefore unfit to stand trial. Instead of prison, he was committed indefinitely to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane. For more than a decade, he remained institutionalized, regarded as harmless but deeply disturbed, and was later transferred to the Mendota Mental Health Institute in Madison. Ed Gein's house was boarded up to preserve evidence, and officers removed all furniture believed to be related to his suspected crimes. A crowd of 2,000 people gathered to comb through Ed Gein's belongings in March 1958, and certain belongings, including his pickup truck, were purchased by traveling sideshows and circuses.
There will be an auction here Palm Sunday. This house and the personal belongings of Ed Gein will be conspicuously absent. Call it an act of God or whatever you will. The main attraction will be missing, reduced to a mass of rubble by a mysterious fire.
Nah, somebody burned that stuff
The
down.
farm where Ed Gein lived and where much of the grisly evidence has been found has been leveled. It burned down one night, no one knows why, but since then the ground has been bulldozed over and trees planted there, trying apparently to wipe out every vestige of the grisly tragedy.
In 1974, doctors judged Ed as competent to finally stand trial, and Gein was retried for Worden's murder.
Oh, he looked somewhat healthier. He was seemed rather dark and gaunt personage 10 years ago.
They were getting that boy that
He seemed
health
more like
medicine,
a
that
middle-aged
mental medicine.
businessman at this time.
Yeah, I ain't see this part in the show.
He took parts of the people home with him. He took the skin of women, particularly. He decorated furniture with it.
That dude right there look like he eat people.
Made many other items out of it.
Ed Gein was found guilty, but still found to be clinically insane, meaning he would never serve time in prison.
When he first appeared before me,
that boy got off easy,
I got
man.
the impression somewhat of a puppy. He's a small, neat-looking man, and he stood there with a kind of a ingratiating little smile on his face. It was obvious he wanted to make a good impression on the judge, and if he'd had a tail to wiggle, I'm sure the puppy description would apply to it.
Ed Gein spent the remainder of his life in psychiatric care,
that man a puppy.
where he lived quietly until his death from cancer in 1984 at age 77. The revelations of Gein's demented compulsions changed America forever, inspiring the third installment of Netflix's true crime series, Monster, and a slew of iconic horror movies. Gein's haunting infatuation with his mother has now become a trope for many demented horror characters. Take Norman Bates in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho as a prime example. However, Bates wasn't directly taken from Gein, but...
Put it this way, we want to have Texas Chainsaw Massacre and pretty much all the horror movies we have nowadays that everybody loves. If it wasn't for Ed Gein, Ed Gein was the one that kind of was like the first serial killer, murder in like America type of guy. There's plenty that came after him, but he was like the OG of that stuff. And man, it was just wow. See the show. They left some stuff out, but see the show, man, it's pretty out there. It's wild what that man was doing. It wasn't just cutting people, skinning people and wearing their skin. It was he was out there for sure.
Instead, from the imagination of novelist Robert Bloch. Still, there was a creepy connection. Bloch was actually writing his novel just 35 miles from where Gein lived. It was only right before he finished his book that Gein's murders came to light. Bloch was shocked at how closely Bates's actions and motivation resembled Gein's. Then there's Silence of the Lambs. Buffalo Bill's obsession with female flesh and making suits out of his victim's skin was a direct nod to Gein. And of course, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was also loosely based on Gein, as it took the real-life body snatcher's obsession with human skin and used it to build its character, Leatherface, who hid behind face masks made out of human flesh. Other more conspicuous inspirations from the troubled man include body parts used as home decoration, the hint of cannibalism, and the mummified carcass of the family's matriarch sitting in the house. But not all fictionalizations of Gein have been a box office success, with PBS's spoof comedy, Ed Gein the Musical, gaining condemnation in 2010.
Somebody framed me.
Shut up and quit singing.
It's such a lonely feeling. It's such a lovely reeling. Surrounded by an old friend, and yet I'm treated like a rural mannequin.
Cut this out right here.
In 2025, Charlie Hunman gave the most recent on-screen portrayal of Ed Gein in Series 3 of Netflix's anthology series, Monster. It garnered mixed reviews, with some praise and some criticism. Comment below how you think it compares to the real-life story of Ed Gein, and please hit subscribe to support crime.
Well, that's it right there. If you haven't seen the Netflix movie they was just talking about, Monster, the Ed Gein story, like I said, man, it's pretty out there, so watch at your own risk. Yeah, but if y'all enjoyed this little reaction or y'all want me to do more reactions, just let me know in the comments. If you have seen the movie, You know, let me know in the comments if you have. If you haven't, if you plan on watching it, leave all that in the description down below, or in the comments down below. Till next time, man, we out. Peace.